Build Lasting Wealth, Strategies That Compound Over Time. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. Wealth doesn't shout when it enters the room. It doesn't wear flashy clothes or drive the loudest car. Real wealth is quiet, slow-moving, and deeply strategic. It builds itself in the background, while others chase distractions, while trends rise and fall, while most people remain too impatient to let it grow. That's the trap. We're conditioned to think of wealth as an event, a sudden windfall, a lucky break, a big bet that pays off. But lasting wealth isn't loud. It's layered. It's built from small, repeated decisions that compound over years until they become something unstoppable. This book isn't about how to get rich quick. It's about how to build wealth that sticks. The kind that frees your time, opens new options, and outlasts economic noise. Not by doing everything perfectly, but by doing the right things consistently. You don't need a high income to get started. You don't need to be a financial expert. You need a strategy you trust, a system you follow, and the patience to let them work. The pages ahead are designed to give you that system. Practical, grounded, and rooted in principles that have stood the test of time. As Warren Buffett once said, someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Your job is not to guess when the tree will grow, it's to plant, water, and protect it. That begins now. With you. With this page. Let's build something that lasts. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Snowball Effect. Why Slow Wealth Wins the Race. It starts with a single flake. Insignificant. Weightless. But when that flake joins another, and begins to roll, what once seemed trivial becomes unstoppable. That's how wealth is built. Not in explosions, but in accumulation. The snowball rolls slowly at first, almost frustratingly so. But over time, it gathers force, mass, momentum. Eventually, it moves with a power of its own. Most people don't fail at building wealth because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They fail because they expect fireworks and quit during the spark. Wealth that lasts is built like a snowball, small, consistent steps repeated until the compounding becomes undeniable. Think of Marcus, a 27-year-old warehouse worker. No fancy degree. No startup exit. Just a decision. He chose to invest $200 a month in a low-cost index fund. Friends laughed. What difference would that make? But Marcus kept at it. Month after month. Year after year. 20 years later, that small snowball had turned into over $120,000. Not from windfalls. Not from luck. But from the quiet power of time plus consistency. Contrast that with James, a high earner who jumped from hot tip to crypto craze, trying to sprint his way to 7 figures. He made money, lost more, and burned out chasing what seemed urgent instead of what was timeless. His snowball never got a chance to grow because he kept resetting the hill. Compounding is not a financial trick. It's a law. Like gravity. But it only rewards those willing to endure the slow start. In the early years, progress looks invisible. It's easy to doubt the strategy. That's where most give up. They think their little flake isn't enough. But compounding is sneaky. It starts quiet and ends loud. Here's the math. If you invest $500 a month earning an average 8% return, you'll have about $350,000 after 20 years. That's not magic, it's math. And yet, what holds people back isn't the numbers, it's the impatience. Everyone wants the avalanche without the push. This is the moment to shift your thinking. Real wealth isn't built on big wins, it's built on consistent behavior. Like brushing your teeth or exercising, the habit matters more than the hype. The first step is small, almost forgettable. But in 10 years it won't be. The snowball effect applies to more than money. Habits compound. Skills compound. Relationships compound. Every act of discipline, every wise decision, adds weight to your momentum. Over time, your effort builds a life that moves on its own. Wealth becomes not just something you create, but something that carries you. Imagine looking back 10 years from now. Will you wish you had started today? Will you wish you had rolled that first flake? The only thing separating those who build wealth from those who don't isn't brilliance, it's belief in the process. A willingness to start, and more importantly, to keep going when progress feels glacial. There is no shortcut around compounding. There's only through. But once it starts working, it feels like cheating. Your past self keeps showing up to invest in your future. And that is the quiet magic of doing the right thing, long enough, without applause. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. The flake is in your hand. Roll it. Wealth builds slowly, then suddenly. Compounding needs time and consistency. Small actions done repeatedly outweigh big actions done rarely. The earlier you start, the more powerful the momentum becomes. Where in your financial life have you underestimated the power of small, repeated action? Set up an automatic investment of any amount today, even $25. The snowball begins now. Chapter 2: The Discipline Dividend, Choosing Long-Term Over Lifestyle. Discipline is invisible wealth. You can't show it off, but you can feel its power. It's the decision to walk past the instant and invest in the eventual. While most people chase what sparkles, discipline quietly builds what lasts. It doesn't scream for attention. It compounds in silence. In 2008, a 22-year-old named Andre graduated into a recession. Job prospects were slim. Credit card offers, however, were plenty. Friends spent borrowed money trying to escape their circumstances, new gadgets, weekend getaways, temporary highs. Andre did something different. He took a lower-paying job with stability and used every spare dollar to eliminate debt. Then he started saving. No luxury car. No downtown apartment. Just small, repeated acts of restraint. By 35, Andre owned 2 rental properties and a fully funded retirement account. His friends, still chasing upgrades, wondered how he'd gotten ahead. The answer was simple but not easy: discipline. Discipline isn't punishment, it's purpose in motion. It's not about saying no to everything, but about saying yes to what matters most. The world pushes us toward image, nicer clothes, fancier meals, bigger homes. But wealth isn't what people see. It's what you keep. And more often, it's what you delay. Choosing long-term over lifestyle looks like driving a reliable used car while others lease luxury. It's skipping a new iPhone for a year to max out a Roth IRA. It's learning to find joy in progress, not purchases. These choices rarely impress others. But they change everything. There's a reason high-income earners can still live paycheck to paycheck. Earning more doesn't fix a lack of discipline, it magnifies it. If you're not careful, your lifestyle will always rise to meet your income, leaving nothing left to grow. That's lifestyle creep, and it's one of the biggest wealth killers today. On the flip side, discipline creates margin. Margin becomes savings. Savings become investments. And investments become freedom. The chain starts with one decision: live beneath your means. That single shift is how empires are built. Consider this: if you save just 15% of your income consistently, and invest it wisely, you could retire decades earlier than most. Not by making millions overnight, but by refusing to let lifestyle steal your future. Discipline also makes you resilient. When the market dips, the disciplines stay the course. When opportunities arise, they're ready to act. When others panic, they remain steady. That steadiness is a superpower. It doesn't require brilliance, just consistency. It's tempting to believe wealth is about choosing the right investment. But often, it's about choosing the right behavior. And behavior is rooted in discipline. You can't control the market, but you can control your spending. You can't predict returns, but you can predict whether or not you'll save. The truth is, no one applauds your restraint. There's no standing ovation for skipping the expensive vacation. But years from now, the quiet rewards of discipline will scream louder than any impulse ever could. The house you own outright. The job you can walk away from. The peace of knowing you're secure. That's the dividend discipline pays. So the next time you're tempted to upgrade your lifestyle, ask a better question: will this help me build lasting wealth, or just temporary status? One leads to ownership. The other leads to obligation. Discipline may not feel exciting today, but it's building a future that is. Discipline is the foundation of wealth. Without it, income is easily lost. Living below your means creates the margin needed to invest and grow. Every act of financial restraint today is an investment in future freedom. What current lifestyle choice could you adjust to increase your long-term financial margin? Identify one recurring expense you can reduce or eliminate this month, and redirect that money to savings or investment. Chapter 3: The Patience Principle. Letting time do the heavy lifting. Patience is the currency of lasting wealth. It's the choice to allow time to multiply your efforts instead of rushing the result. In a world wired for speed, patience is a competitive advantage most ignore. But those who understand its power stop sprinting and start planting. When Ellen received a small inheritance at age 29, she didn't rush to buy a car or renovate her kitchen. Instead, she opened a brokerage account and invested it in a diversified index fund. Her friends thought she was boring. A decade later, that boring decision had doubled, and by 50, it had more than quadrupled. She didn't trade stocks. She didn't jump ship during downturns. She simply waited while the market did what it's always done over time: rise. The challenge with patience is that it looks like an action. But in reality, it's the highest form of discipline. It says, "I trust the process enough not to interfere." Impatient investors, by contrast, tend to sabotage their own returns, buying high, selling low, switching strategies, reacting to headlines instead of principles. Time is not neutral. It either works for you or against you. The impatient pay interest. The patient earn it. It's the person who stays in the market through the storms who gets to enjoy the sunshine on the other side. But most never make it that far. They jump out at the first sign of rain. Wealth builders understand that progress isn't always visible. A seed buried in the soil doesn't sprout overnight. But with water, sunlight, and time, it breaks through. Then it grows roots. Then it bears fruit. Pulling it up every week to check its growth kills the process. The same is true of your investments, habits, and skills. Patience isn't passive, it's proactive trust. It means continuing to contribute to your retirement account even when the news screams recession. It means sticking with your budget when your friends seem to be spending freely. It means keeping your financial plan boring when the world chases the next hot trend. History favors the patient. The market has always recovered from downturns. Always. But only for those who stayed invested. Missing just the 10 best days in the market over a 20-year period can cut your returns in half. The irony? Those best days often come right after the worst. The reward is reserved for those who didn't flinch. Patience also amplifies every other wealth habit. Saving becomes more powerful. Investing becomes more stable. Learning becomes more fruitful. Without patience, good habits lose their impact. With it, they become unstoppable. It's easy to get discouraged when results don't show up immediately. But the most valuable transformations are invisible at first. Muscle growth, language fluency, financial freedom, they all look like nothing for a long time. Then suddenly, they look like everything. Patience bridges that gap. So if you feel behind, don't rush. If you feel like you're not seeing results fast enough, remember you're not planting fireworks, you're building a legacy. Time is your greatest ally if you'll let it be. Every dollar you invest today, every wise habit you repeat, compounds in value the longer it's left alone. The wealthy don't just think about tomorrow. They think in decades. And while that perspective may not feel thrilling in the moment, it produces a life most only dream of: peace, options, freedom. But only if you resist the urge to pick the fruit before it ripens. Patience isn't a delay tactic. It's a wealth strategy. And when you truly understand that, you'll stop asking, "How soon?" and start asking, "How far can this go?" Patience allows compounding to work its full magic. Rushing breaks the cycle. The most powerful financial results come slowly, then all at once. Staying the course through market swings is what separates builders from chasers. Where are you tempted to rush the process, and what would change if you let time work instead? Review one long-term goal and recommit to it for the next 5 years. No strategy changes, no shortcuts, just consistency. Chapter 4: Automate to Accumulate. Systems that build while you sleep. Automation is wealth's quiet partner. It doesn't shout. It doesn't flex. But it works, relentlessly, silently, and without fail. Most people think wealth building is about willpower. It's not. It's about removing willpower from the equation entirely. Automation does what motivation promises but rarely delivers: consistency. Consider Mia, a graphic designer in her 30s who never saw herself as financially savvy. She didn't know how to pick stocks or time markets. What she did know was that every month, without fail, 15% of her paycheck went into a retirement account. Automatically. She never saw the money hit her checking account. She never had to make a decision. Over a decade, she forgot it was even happening. One day she checked her balance. It had crossed 6 figures. Not because she made brilliant trades, but because she made one brilliant decision: to automate. The human brain is wired to seek pleasure now and delay pain later. That's the problem when wealth requires the reverse. Automation sidesteps that bias. It ensures your future wins even when your present feels pulled in a dozen directions. It's not glamorous, but it's unstoppable. There's power in the set it and forget it model. Automatic transfers to investment accounts. Scheduled contributions to a savings goal. Debt payments that run without reminders. Each one acts like a drip of water, insignificant alone, transformative over time. Left on long enough, a drip carves through stone. Automation also reduces decision fatigue. Every day, we're faced with hundreds of choices, most of which drain our mental energy. By automating financial actions, you remove friction. The less you have to think about doing the right thing, the more likely it will happen. Behavior is shaped by design, not discipline. Many people delay investing because they believe they need large amounts to get started. They wait for a big raise, a windfall, or a perfect plan. But $50 a month, automated and sustained, beats $500 once and forgotten. Small amounts, multiplied by frequency and time, produce far more than most expect. Think of automation as building a financial assembly line. Once set up, it runs in the background while you live your life. You don't need to be watching the markets. You don't need to remember due dates. You just need to build the system once and protect it from tampering. Automation also protects you from yourself. When the market drops or your mood shifts, your automated plan doesn't panic. It doesn't pull out of investments or skip contributions. It stays the course when emotions try to steer you off it. That's not just convenient, it's critical. The truth is, the gap between knowing and doing is where most wealth is lost. People know they should save. They know they should invest. But knowing doesn't compound, doing does. Automation turns good intentions into tangible results. If your financial life requires constant attention, you don't have a system, you have a job. And that job is costing you peace, progress, and mental bandwidth. Automation frees you from that cycle. It allows you to focus on earning, creating, and living, while your money works behind the scenes. The wealthiest people don't have better discipline. They have better defaults. Their systems serve them even on days they're distracted, discouraged, or exhausted. That's the kind of help worth building. Start small. Pick one habit and automate it. It could be a transfer to savings every Friday. A retirement contribution tied to payday. A debt payment set to draft automatically. Over time, those automated choices create outcomes that feel like magic, except they're not. They're just math, consistency, and time, working while you sleep. Automation removes willpower and ensures consistent wealth-building behavior. Small, regular actions automated over time create significant results. Systems outperform motivation, especially over the long haul. What financial behavior do you still rely on memory or motivation for, and how could you automate it instead? Set up an automatic transfer, no matter how small, to an investment or savings account today. Chapter 5: The Ownership Mindset, From Earner to Equity Holder. There's a quiet but defining line between those who earn money and those who own it. Earners trade time for dollars. Owners build something that works even when they don't. To build lasting wealth, you must cross that line. You must stop asking, "What can I make?" and start asking, "What can I own?" Most people live on the earning treadmill. They work, they spend, they repeat. No matter how fast they run, they stay in place. Ownership changes the game. It disconnects income from effort and introduces leverage, the ability to earn more without doing more. It's the difference between being an employee and being an investor, between renting the outcome and holding the deed. Take Olivia, a talented software engineer who spent years climbing the salary ladder. At 30, she made more than most of her peers. But she realized something unsettling: if she stopped working, her income stopped too. So she began directing a portion of each paycheck into assets, index funds, fractional real estate, and eventually, shares in a startup. By 40, her portfolio was producing income regardless of her hours. She still worked, but now by choice. She had become an owner. Ownership isn't just about real estate or stock portfolios. It's a mindset. Owners think long-term. They seek equity in businesses, returns on capital, and control over outcomes. They don't just work in the system, they build a piece of it. And that piece, no matter how small, compounds. The marketplace rewards ownership with disproportionate gains. When you own shares of a company, you don't just earn from its labor, you benefit from its growth. When you own a rental property, you don't just get rent, you gain appreciation. When you own intellectual property, a book, course, patent, you create something once and get paid repeatedly. Income can make you comfortable. Ownership can make you free. The barrier for most people isn't access, it's mindset. Ownership feels distant, like something reserved for the wealthy. But it begins with simple steps: buying a single share of an index fund, investing in your 401k, starting a side business with equity potential. These are seeds. Planted early and nurtured over time, they grow into autonomy. There's a reason the wealthy prioritize asset acquisition. They understand that true security comes from what continues without them. A salary can vanish overnight. But a portfolio of income-producing assets creates durability. It's not immune to risk, but it's resilient to disruption. Ownership also transforms how you think. You start seeing money as a tool, not just a reward. You stop measuring success in paychecks and start measuring it in freedom, freedom to choose how you spend your days, where you direct your energy, and what legacy you leave. The truth is, everyone has a shot at ownership. But not everyone takes it. It requires patience, education, and the willingness to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. It asks you to forego the flashy for the foundational. If you want to escape the cycle of earning and spending, you need leverage. And leverage comes from owning things that grow while you sleep. It's not about gambling on high-risk plays. It's about steadily acquiring assets that appreciate, produce income, or give you a stake in value creation. Every time you redirect a dollar from consumption to investment, you're shifting from earner to owner. Every share, every brick, every percentage of equity is a step toward independence. Start where you are. Buy one asset. Claim one piece of equity. Build one system that pays you without your presence. And then keep going. Because wealth isn't built by trading more time. It's built by owning more future. Ownership creates leverage, allowing wealth to grow beyond time-based effort. Assets produce income and appreciation long after the initial investment. Shifting from earning to owning is essential for long-term financial freedom. What is one area of your life where you could begin shifting from being a consumer to becoming an owner? Buy your first, or next, income-producing asset this week, no matter how small. Ownership starts now. Chapter 6: Assets over Appearances. Why looking rich isn't being rich. Looking rich is easy. Being rich is harder, and far quieter. Flashy cars, designer clothes, and expensive vacations may signal success to the world, but they often conceal a fragile foundation. True wealth isn't built on what others can see. It's built on what no one notices, until it changes everything. Consider Darren, who earned a six-figure income and drove a brand-new luxury car. He lived in a sleek apartment downtown, always dressed to impress. On the surface, he was thriving. But behind the image were mounting credit card balances, no emergency fund, and a future mortgage to maintain a lifestyle. Then there was Luis, who drove a used sedan and wore simple clothes. No one asked him for financial advice. But Luis owned 3 rental properties, had no debt, and was on track to retire by 45. One man looked rich. The other was rich. The gap between appearance and reality is wider than ever. Social media amplifies lifestyle signaling, pushing people to perform prosperity. But real wealth doesn't crave an audience. It grows in quiet accounts, paid-off homes, and portfolios most never see. There's nothing wrong with enjoying nice things. The problem arises when purchases are driven by the need to appear successful rather than the discipline to become financially secure. When money goes to image instead of assets, the result is often stress disguised as success. Assets work for you. Appearances make you work harder. A luxury car comes with ongoing payments, insurance, and depreciation. A rental property may require upkeep, but it pays you monthly. One drains your account. The other fills it. Building assets takes humility. It means saying no to short-term applause. It means skipping the upgrade, the trend, the dinner that stretches the budget. It's not always fun. It's not always visible. But it builds strength that can't be taken away. True wealth is measured in time and freedom, not things. Can you walk away from your job if needed? Can you cover 6 months of expenses without panic? Can you invest in opportunities without borrowing? Those are wealth questions, not whether your watch has the right logo. Marketing tells us we are what we buy. But wealth isn't found in the purchase, it's found in ownership. Not of things that depreciate, but of things that grow. The house that increases in value. The index fund that compounds. The business equity that pays dividends. These assets don't sparkle under lights, but they shine where it counts. Psychologically, it's easy to equate spending with success. Buying creates a short-lived high. But that feeling fades and the payments linger. Assets, by contrast, feel boring at first. But over time, they create lasting peace. One is sugar. The other is sustenance. It's also worth noting that most truly wealthy people don't feel the need to signal it. They've learned that the point of money isn't to impress others, it's to free yourself. They buy what they need. They invest in what matters. And they often appear average while quietly building fortunes. This chapter isn't about judgment. It's about alignment. Are your financial choices supporting the life you want, or the image you think others expect? Real confidence comes from security, not style. You don't need to deny yourself forever. But you do need to prioritize ownership over optics. Because the moment your money starts working harder than your ego, you step into a kind of wealth most never experience. Appearances fade. Assets endure. Choose what lasts. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are often opposites. Choose assets over image. Appearances cost money. Assets build wealth and freedom. True financial security grows silently, not socially. What financial decisions have been motivated more by appearance than by long-term value? Identify one upcoming purchase and redirect that amount toward an income-producing asset or investment. Chapter 7: Skill Stacking, the career strategy that pays compounding returns. Wealth doesn't just live in investments and bank accounts, it lives in you. Specifically, in your ability to create value. While most people focus only on saving more or spending less, the quiet engine of financial growth is skill. Skills compound like capital. They open doors, attract opportunities, and increase your lifetime earning potential. But not just any skills stack skills. Skill stacking is the intentional accumulation of complementary abilities. One skill may make you competent. 2 or 3, combined strategically, make you rare. And rare is valuable. In today's economy, those who master this approach earn more not by working harder, but by working smarter and differently than others. Imagine Maya, a competent accountant. Solid salary, steady career. But Maya didn't stop with spreadsheets. She became a great communicator, learned basic coding, and studied leadership. Within 5 years, she wasn't just an accountant, she was a sought-after CFO for tech startups. None of her skills alone made her elite. But the combination? Irreplaceable. That's the power of stacking. It multiplies rather than adds. You don't need to be world-class at one thing. You need to be proficient at several valuable things that, together, create a unique edge. Writing plus marketing. Design plus strategy. Sales plus psychology. Each added skill becomes a lever, increasing your impact and income. Many people stop learning once they land a job. But stagnant skills lead to stagnant earning. Meanwhile, those who keep learning, even just a little each week, outpace their peers within years. The workplace rewards the adaptable, the multidisciplinary, the ones who connect dots others don't even see. Skill stacking also builds confidence. When you know how to speak clearly, lead a team, analyze data, and pitch ideas, you become dangerous in the best way. You stop waiting for promotions and start creating them. You stop fearing change and start leveraging it. The beauty of skills is they don't depreciate. Unlike cars or clothes, they grow in value the more you use them. And in the digital age, most can be learned at low cost through books, podcasts, online courses, mentors, or practice. The barrier is no longer access. It's initiative. Stacked skills also protect you from economic shifts. If one industry contracts, you have transferable abilities. If one job disappears, your toolkit still applies elsewhere. You become resilient, not reliant. And resilience is its own form of wealth. It's not just about hard skills either. Emotional intelligence, time management, negotiation, public speaking, these are multipliers. They enhance every other ability. They make you more promotable, more persuasive, more effective. And over time, they translate directly into dollars. Think of your skill set like a portfolio. Diversify it. Invest in high-return abilities. Rebalance as your career evolves. Ask yourself, what skill, if I mastered it this year, would create the biggest leap forward? Then begin. Not perfectly, not all at once, but persistently. The highest-earning people aren't always the most brilliant. They're often the most intentional about learning. They keep sharpening their edge while others get comfortable. And in a world that changes fast, sharpness wins. Skill stacking is a wealth strategy hiding in plain sight. It doesn't show up on a bank statement, but it determines what goes on one. If you want to increase your income potential, stop chasing shortcuts. Start building your advantage, one skill at a time. Because while money earns interest, so do you. And the return is limitless when you invest in what no one can take away. Skill stacking creates exponential career value through unique combinations. Continuous learning increases earning potential and protects against change. The more versatile your skill set, the more leverage you gain in the marketplace. Which high-value skill could you begin developing that would enhance your current strengths? Choose one skill you can start learning this week. Schedule your first lesson, course, or practice session today. Chapter 8. Weathering the Market. Why Consistency Beats Timing. The market doesn't reward those who predict it. It rewards those who endure it. Every surge, every crash, every headline screaming panic or promise, none of it matters as much as your ability to stay the course. Wealth isn't built by perfect timing. It's built by imperfect people doing the right thing consistently, regardless of what the market does. Trying to time the market is like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. You might get lucky once, but even the pros rarely do it twice. The data is clear. Investors who jump in and out miss the very days that account for the majority of gains. And those missed days make all the difference. Jason learned that the hard way. During a market dip, he pulled his investments into cash, convinced worse was coming. A few weeks later, the market rebounded. He missed the recovery, and more importantly, he missed the compounding effect of staying invested. What cost him wasn't the downturn, it was the exit. Contrast that with Alicia, who invested monthly through highs and lows without flinching. She didn't chase returns or retreat in fear. She trusted the process. Over 20 years, her steady contributions outperformed friends who jumped in and out trying to catch the perfect wave. While others surfed volatility, she built wealth. Market timing feels smart because it feeds the illusion of control. But more often, it replaces real progress with emotional reaction. The market is unpredictable. Your behavior doesn't have to be. In fact, your behavior is the only part you can control. That's why consistency is so powerful. Regular contributions, regardless of market conditions, turn volatility into opportunity. When prices drop, your dollars buy more. When prices rise, your earlier investments grow. It's called dollar cost averaging, and over time, it beats most active strategies. The key is to keep going. Not because every month will be perfect, but because perfection isn't required. Wealth favors the patient and the persistent. If you wait for the right time to invest, you'll wait forever. The right time was yesterday. The second best time is always now. Emotion is the enemy of consistency. Fear during downturns and greed during booms pull people off course. But your plan isn't there for when things are easy, it's there for when they're not. Sticking to the plan when it's hardest is what separates investors from speculators. Consider this: the market has recovered from every downturn in history. Wars, recessions, inflation, political upheaval, none have stopped the long-term upward trend. But only those who stayed invested got to experience the rebound. Timing the market is gambling. Time in the market is strategy. Consistent investing also removes the stress of decision fatigue. You don't have to guess. You don't have to watch the news with white knuckles. You simply automate, contribute, and move on with your life. That peace of mind is worth more than the fleeting thrill of trying to outsmart the system. Even if you start small, starting matters. A consistent $200 a month adds up to over $100,000 in 20 years with average returns. Not because of luck, but because of unshakable habits. That's the real power, results that feel inevitable because you refuse to stop. Wealth isn't built in moments of brilliance. It's built in seasons of resilience. The market will rise and fall. Your job isn't to predict, it's to persist. Through the noise. Through the doubt. Through the dips. Because the one who wins isn't the one who times it perfectly. It's the one who refuses to quit. Market timing is a losing game. Consistency outperforms prediction over time. Regular investing turns volatility into long-term advantage. Staying invested through ups and downs is the foundation of compounding success. Where has fear or impatience tempted you to abandon a consistent financial plan? Set up or reaffirm an automatic monthly investment. Commit to keeping it through the next market dip. Chapter 10: The 10-Year Window. Thinking in decades, not days. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. That simple truth is why so many abandon the path to wealth before they ever see results. They plant seeds and expect fruit tomorrow. But the most fruitful lives are grown in decades, not days. The 10-year window is where transformation happens, not overnight, but over time. Think of a forest. It doesn't appear after a weekend of planting. It grows tree by tree, root by root, season after season. Wealth works the same way. The early years are deceptively quiet. Growth is slow. Progress feels invisible. But compound growth is exponential, not linear. It's not just more over time, it's more because of time. Derek started investing $300 a month at 25. By 35, his account had grown modestly, maybe enough for a decent used car. But by 45, that account could buy a home. By 55, it funded his freedom. Nothing magical happened between year 1 and year 2. The shift occurred when the calendar turned to year 10 and beyond. Patience unlocked potential. Thinking in decades also changes your decisions today. It tempers urgency. It rewires your goals. Instead of chasing the biggest return right now, you start asking better questions. Is this choice sustainable? Does it build momentum over time? Am I creating something that lasts? It also protects you from the trap of comparison. Social media shows the highlight reels, the sudden windfalls, the quick wins, the overnight successes. But the real stories, the ones that last, are filled with long stretches of consistency and obscurity. You don't need to win the next quarter. You need to win the next decade. This mindset is liberating. It means you can start small without shame. You can focus on building the habit, not chasing the hack. $1 invested, a book read, a skill learned, they may not change your life in a week. But in 10 years? They change your future. The 10-year window also gives you grace. You don't have to get it perfect right now. You just have to stay in the game. That means forgiving missteps, adjusting plans, and continuing forward. Wealth doesn't require genius. It requires stamina. Time is the most misunderstood element in personal finance. People think they need more money. What they often need is more time to let their systems work, their habits compound, their strategies mature. When you think in decades, setbacks become data, not defeats. A market drop is a blip, not a crisis. A slow season is a chapter, not the story. It's not just about money either. Relationships, careers, health, anything meaningful requires long-term vision. You can't microwave mastery. You have to grow into it. When you give yourself a decade, you remove the pressure of urgency and gain the power of intention. Ask yourself, what would my life look like in 10 years if I stayed consistent with the right habits? What skills could I master? What debts could I eliminate? What wealth could I build? The answer is almost always more than you think. Because consistency multiplies. And time rewards those who use it wisely. The danger isn't that people dream too big. It's that they quit too soon. They bail in year 2 and miss the exponential leap of year 10. They start and stop, never realizing how close they were to breakthrough. Wealth is built on quiet, repeated steps taken with long-term purpose. Every deposit, every decision, every disciplined choice is a brick. Stack them patiently, and in 10 years you'll have a fortress. Think big. Start small. Stay long. Long-term thinking multiplies results that short-term urgency cannot deliver. Consistency over a decade creates transformations that feel impossible today. Most people quit too early. Wealth rewards those who endure the quiet years. If you fully committed to your wealth-building plan for 10 years, what could your life look like? Write down one habit or investment you will commit to consistently for the next 10 years. Start today. Chapter 10: The 10-Year Window, Thinking in Decades, Not Days. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. That simple truth is why so many abandon the path to wealth before they ever see results. They plant seeds and expect fruit tomorrow. But the most fruitful lives are grown in decades, not days. The 10-year window is where transformation happens, not overnight, but over time. Think of a forest. It doesn't appear after a weekend of planting. It grows tree by tree, root by root, season after season. Wealth works the same way. The early years are deceptively quiet. Growth is slow. Progress feels invisible. But compound growth is exponential, not linear. It's not just more over time, it's more because of time. Derek started investing $300 a month at 25. By 35, his account had grown modestly, maybe enough for a decent used car. But by 45, that account could buy a home. By 55, it funded his freedom. Nothing magical happened between year 1 and year 2. The shift occurred when the calendar turned to year 10 and beyond. Patience unlocked potential. Thinking in decades also changes your decisions today. It tempers urgency. It rewires your goals. Instead of chasing the biggest return right now, you start asking better questions. Is this choice sustainable? Does it build momentum over time? Am I creating something that lasts? It also protects you from the trap of comparison. Social media shows the highlight reels, the sudden windfalls, the quick wins, the overnight successes. But the real stories, the ones that last, are filled with long stretches of consistency and obscurity. You don't need to win the next quarter. You need to win the next decade. This mindset is liberating. It means you can start small without shame. You can focus on building the habit, not chasing the hack. $1 invested, a book read, a skill learned, they may not change your life in a week. But in 10 years? They change your future. The 10-year window also gives you grace. You don't have to get it perfect right now. You just have to stay in the game. That means forgiving missteps, adjusting plans, and continuing forward. Wealth doesn't require genius. It requires stamina. Time is the most misunderstood element in personal finance. People think they need more money. What they often need is more time to let their systems work, their habits compound, their strategies mature. When you think in decades, setbacks become data, not defeats. A market drop is a blip, not a crisis. A slow season is a chapter, not the story. It's not just about money either. Relationships, careers, health, anything meaningful requires long-term vision. You can't microwave mastery. You have to grow into it. When you give yourself a decade, you remove the pressure of urgency and gain the power of intention. Ask yourself, what would my life look like in 10 years if I stayed consistent with the right habits? What skills could I master? What debts could I eliminate? What wealth could I build? The answer is almost always more than you think. Because consistency multiplies. And time rewards those who use it wisely. The danger isn't that people dream too big. It's that they quit too soon. They bail in year 2 and miss the exponential leap of year 10. They start and stop, never realizing how close they were to breakthrough. Wealth is built on quiet, repeated steps taken with long-term purpose. Every deposit, every decision, every disciplined choice is a brick. Stack them patiently, and in 10 years you'll have a fortress. Think big. Start small. Stay long. Long-term thinking multiplies results that short-term urgency cannot deliver. Consistency over a decade creates transformations that feel impossible today. Most people quit too early. Wealth rewards those who endure the quiet years. If you fully committed to your wealth-building plan for 10 years, what could your life look like? Write down one habit or investment you will commit to consistently for the next 10 years. Start today. Chapter 11: Your Wealth Flywheel. Putting it all together for lifelong growth. Wealth isn't built from one brilliant decision. It's built from a series of small, smart, repeated actions that eventually generate their own momentum. Like a flywheel, it starts slow. You push and push with what feels like little return. But with enough force, it begins to move. Then it turns faster. And eventually it spins on its own. That's the nature of real wealth. It rewards those who stay in motion long enough for the system to take over. Each chapter until now has given you a piece of that system. Discipline to live below your means. Patience to trust the process. Automation to remove friction. Ownership to unlock leverage. Skill stacking to increase income. Investing through volatility. Redefining success beyond dollars. And thinking in decades, not days. Alone, each habit is powerful. Together, they become unstoppable. The magic happens not in mastering one, but in combining them. When you automate disciplined behaviors, your savings grow without thought. When you pair patience with consistent investing, your returns compound. When you stack skills and own assets, your income expands while your time frees up. One action supports the next, and the flywheel spins faster with less effort. But none of this works without commitment. The biggest difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who don't is follow-through. Not intelligence. Not luck. Not income level. Just the choice to keep going. To do the right thing when no one's watching. To plant seeds without demanding instant fruit. That's why many people never get their flywheel turning. They push once, see no movement, and walk away. They switch strategies every few months, never staying long enough to see results. They confuse motion with momentum, noise with progress. The flywheel punishes the impatient, but it wildly rewards the persistent. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Wealth isn't a talent. It's a rhythm. And rhythms are learned through repetition. The more you act in alignment with these principles, the more natural they become. Eventually, you don't have to think about them, they become who you are. And that's the real goal. Not just having more, but becoming someone capable of building, keeping, and growing wealth. A person with clarity, discipline, and long-term vision. Someone who doesn't panic in downturns or chase every shiny trend. Someone who quietly, steadily, builds a life of freedom. It won't always feel exciting. Much of wealth building is invisible and uncelebrated. But over time, your results begin to speak. You'll feel the shift when your savings grow faster than your spending. When opportunities find you instead of the other way around. When time, not money, becomes your most valuable asset, and you actually own it. This is your flywheel moment. Everything you've learned is a lever. Each one increases your momentum. And momentum is where wealth begins to feel inevitable. The hardest part is starting. The second hardest is not stopping. The good news? You've already started. By reading this far, you've positioned yourself ahead of most. But don't let this be inspiration without action. Let it be ignition. Begin where you are. Push once. Then again. Then again. Eventually, you'll feel it, the click of the wheel catching. Then spinning. Then accelerating. You don't need a windfall. You need a system. And now you have one. Wealth isn't a destination. It's a direction. And with your flywheel in motion, you're already on your way. True wealth is the result of compounded habits working together over time. The flywheel effect turns small, consistent actions into unstoppable momentum. Start where you are, keep pushing, and let the system build the future. Which part of your wealth flywheel needs your next push, and what's stopping you from making it today? Choose one principle from this book and commit to applying it daily for the next 30 days. Track your momentum. Take care and be well.